There are many challenges that people face daily on a global spectrum. One of the largest challenges is that of homelessness. It's estimated that there are 100 million people worldwide that are living without a home. This is why we have created Live by Pace, which is a nonprofit organization that helps those who can't afford housing due to high costs to live in a unit and pay a premium according to their income. The housing project could be both temporary or permanent, but the goal is to essentially place all people under their own roof over time. The value we hope to bring to potential consumers is to deliver a more feasible way for them to live on their own. There are many times that people are laid off of work or simply can't catch up to their monthly bills, therefore they get evicted and start living in their cars or worse, on the streets. Creating a space that will provide these people with a safe and clean environment for them to bathe and sleep will ease their troubles and help them in a grand way. In order to ease off the stress of paying a lot of money for a place to live, we will place each tenant in a program that will allow them to pay their monthly rent based on a sliding fee scale that we have strategically constructed. Unlike most organizations, we're not going to attempt multi-segmentation. This organization has one specific market, and the customer focus here are those who earn an extremely low income that struggles to find a home that is both safe and affordable, and those who are homeless. The potential consumers will be over 18 and able to be working if they're not working already. We make room for those that do not have a job, however, they will have a limit in resources and utilities, as I will describe in a bit here. Now, we must choose how we will reach out to our consumers. So, Live by Pace would consist of in-building advertisements, guerrilla marketing, and word of mouth. There are already clinics that take in patients and allow them to pay based on a sliding fee scale according to their income. Our housing projects would have advertisements placed in these clinics. The reason for our placement and distribution of cards here is because people are more than likely already aware and comfortable with how paying based on a sliding fee scale works. Patients coming into these offices also more than likely need some assistance and help in terms of monetary terms as well. Therefore, the housing project may be of best interest in these locations. Next, we're using guerrilla marketing. So we would be posting banners and quick posts on social media platforms that most people visit on a daily basis. We understand that not everyone has access to mobile devices, especially when they're in need of money and don't have a lot that they can afford. However, these people may also spend time in libraries using public computers in order to communicate with family, friends, or even apply to employers. Therefore, having banners, advertising our housing projects online may help us gain exposure to the correct market. The last method we would take in marketing ourselves would be simply by word of mouth. It can be as simple as telling somebody one may be seeing sleeping on a park bench or street that there is a housing project nearby that can take them in and help them better themselves while they search for a job or gain a bit more money. Now, there are a couple key partners that we want to keep a close-knit relationship throughout this process of creating our housing projects. Now, in order to implement the system, we would have Habitat for Humanity in particular as our main partner. Habitat for Humanity would benefit us in the sense that they could provide us with resources and even help us build the housing projects at a low cost. Members of the community would come together to help create the buildings envisioned. And we would also have contractors guiding a team of efficient people creating buildings. Once the projects are complete and we have tenants living in the units, we would also have analysts to monitor any income-based changes. That is, if a tenant starts earning more money then they would be reevaluated to see where they now fall on the sliding fee scale, and if they can afford to pay more for better resources and more use of utilities, then so be it. Construction laborers are also part of our key resource planning. Now, in order to keep the sliding fee scale system efficient, we would monitor income changes. These changes would not only benefit them in their potential use of better resources and longer use of utilities, but it would also help alleviate costs for us. Once we have more people on the higher paid side of the sliding fee spectrum, then we would have room to cover costs for the lower end who may not even have a job yet or are actively seeking employment. We would limit the use of utilities for tenants paying the least amount of money in order to motivate them to better themselves and find a job, in order to pay a bit more money for more access to utilities. This means that these tenants would have a strict amount of water and electricity that they are allowed to use each day. Once they are able to pay more, if they can, then they will earn more time for use of utilities. Now we will begin to talk about our cost structure. Our cost structure, as seen below, consists of a sliding fee scale based on a person's income. Consumers will pay us on a monthly basis. There will be 5 tiers of payment according to the tenant's income. As we see here, there are limits to what each person has access to depending on where they fall on this scale. The reason for limiting the amount of time they get for usage on utilities is to drive our costs down and prevent us from needing to raise our cost of rent to those living in our housing projects, which would be inefficient and not the direction that we're trying to go into. The goal here is to keep people off of streets. Therefore, it is crucial that we keep costs down and to do so as efficient and needed. Those tenants who don't have a job or are making less than $5,000 per month are still eligible for a unit at Live by Pace. These tenants in particular, however, will be limited to their no cost unit for only 6 months. In those 6 months, we will partner them with local offices and job assistance and help ease the search for employment, whether it be labor work or at a location nearby. If they still do not make $5,000 or more in these 6 months, they will be allowed one extension in the lowest tier on the sliding fee scale. Once they hold a job and make over $5,000 a year, then they will advance to the next tier and will be rewarded with more access to utilities as well as resources. The global issue of homelessness is a scary one. Many people don't know when they will be at risk of living on the streets or being evicted from their homes. Our housing projects are efficient systems because of the flows they provide to bad states. What is meant by these bad states in this condition is the condition of living without a home. Being out in the street and sleeping wherever may seem okay when it's truly not. There are the conditions that many people seem to be stuck in time after time. Live by Pace provides a solution to these conditions in allowing consumers to live under a roof with access to utilities such as electricity and water, many of which we take for granted. The units that are provided for people living in a homeless state in their lives are the flows in our system. We help alleviate the conditions of people living homeless across the country and potentially globally. These flows will drain out the stocks in our situation and will leverage out the situation of not having a home. Now, we're not simply giving these people full access to their utilities and resources. We are setting limitations and also providing longer times with utilities and resources in order to make them view these as incentives. Once they understand how they can be rewarded with longer utility usage, then they will strive at working more and hopefully trying to better themselves to reach these short-term goals. The housing project company has learned that not everyone can afford even the most affordable housing that may be listed on the market. Sometimes the cheapest rent can also be quite a burden for someone who makes very little money. It is even harder when they make very little money in a city where the cost of living is quite expensive. Our company has filled the gap of allowing a place to stay and rent for the lowest cost possible on the market, all while implementing a system that no other housing project has ever come up with. The sliding fee scale is a new system that allows consumers to pay against what they make. Our biggest focus would be on the delivery of convenience. The reason for this is because, again, we understand that many people can't afford to live in an expensive home. That is why we are making our units affordable and will entail of a system where they will be limited on what they can use and at what times. The fact that they are able to sleep in a unit based on their income and with ease of a low rent gives these consumers the delivery of what is most convenient for them. In the end, the most important factor is that we give our best efforts to place any struggling person, homeless or not, in a unit where they can safely sleep. Thank you for taking the time to learn on how you can help us reshape the world.